so much more. The Drive Guys on Sactown Sports.
Oh, we're very excited to have a special guest joining us today. He was a number 12 pick, 2008 NBA draft, Kings all-time leader in games played. And he was just selected by our panel, number 28 on the all-time list of top 40 Sacramento Kings. Pleasure to welcome to the Drive Guys, Jason Thompson. How are you, JT?
What's going on, Sactown family? How you guys doing?
Good. Happy to have you on, man. It's exciting for us.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing you guys, from afar. Love the work you guys been doing, and I'm just most importantly happy for the city, and it turning around with the arena, and great things with the team, man. I was there, for the first playoff game against the Warriors in that series. Man. It was electric for game 1 and game 2, so I was glad I was able to be there.
Jason, one of the things I think of when I think of your time here, you were just so solid. And obviously the Kings were not as an organization. There was a lot going on, and you were a young player, and you were one of the centerpieces there. How difficult was that for you as a young player, trying to find your way at a time when the team and the organization, they were in some ways trying to find their way?
It's crazy that you bring that up, just because now I'm on the other side as a coach. So I know how important it is for one, success as a team, but one, success for a player in their development. And, with me being a coach now, I can see how important it is to have that player and coach camaraderie. With being with Sacramento for 7 seasons, I had 7 different coaches.
Come on.
Come on. Wow.
And that will be there's got to be a Sactown trivia, if you guys even do that, to name all 7 coaches. I would love for any fans to say that. And like you said, there was no off season where I can come to the practice facility and have anyone there. And then also another thing was, after every season, we weren't even sure if the Kings were even going to stay in Sacramento. So you're dealing with all this stuff, and it has to not even really even deal with on the court. So, you have those times where you have the Brent Browns of the world with the Sixers, where he was able to do the trust the process, but it still was the same coach, even if it was different players. So, for me, I tell people this story a lot. It was more of survival rather than actually worry about winning. So, I've dealt with so many great lottery pick players. Unfortunately for them, either good or bad if they were there or if they got traded. But it was just tough to be able to develop players because no coach was there longer than 1 season.
Wow, man. Jason Thompson joining us. JT, let's continue that conversation. How was it in the locker room with the players? Like, how did you guys, put on the jersey and still try to compete and play hard night in and night out?
To be fair, I mean, one thing about, I appreciate you saying solid. It was one of my maturity. I had to mature, faster than the average, just because, you really couldn't say what you wanted to say to the media, right? To be a professional. We always talk about performing, but you got to be smart to do stuff, with stuff, off the court as well. So, like I said, I had so many different, great teammates and stuff, but, never had a system that we were able to develop with. So really, you didn't know the finished product of guys and their high potential. So, like I said, I mean, I had Reggie Theus when I was there, and then he gets fired mid-season. Then we get Kenny Nat. And then in my next season, we had Paul Westphal, rest in peace. And then we had Keith Smart. And then we had Mike Malone, and then Tyrone Corbin. And then to finish off, it was the Hall of Famer George Karl. So,
there's a 7 right there.
I just named 2 Hall of Fame coaches, and then even Mike Malone now has a championship as well. And it has success, but then just couldn't find a certain type of rhythm with the organization. So, with me, there was some development and like the best numbers. I had solid numbers my rookie year. Into my second year, statistically was the best that I had. And then, it was just tough, to be honest, to play with Boogie, to be honest. For him, it was tough too, because for him to be a leader, and he didn't really have that veteran there to help him be a leader. He had all the talent in the world, but for him to to, have, the career that he had. Obviously he had success, but for him to get over that hump, which is tough because he never really had anybody to be able to make him accountable. And he for sure didn't have a coach because they weren't there long enough.
Jason Thompson with us. Is it true, JT, that he was out one game, Boogie was out, you go for 20 and 20, and everyone's congratulating you, and Boogie says, hey, don't get used to that because I'm coming back?
I don't know where that clip is, but it's for sure a true statement, man. Hey, man, this is how it works. I got plenty of other stories too. But like I said, man, it's just tough, especially when you have some young, talented teams. It's me. You had Dante Green. You had Marcus Thornton, Jimmer Fredette's of the world, Nick Stauskas, Brent McLemore. Really, really talented guys. But like you said, if you had the right commodity, you never know what was going to happen. So, I came back and, you saw, I don't know what you guys call it in that area near the arena where that first playoff game, it was kind of like how Jurassic Park is for Toronto.
Yeah.
I get out the Uber, man, and it was just pandemonium, for myself. So it was just a great feeling. That was my first time even being in that area. And then, like I said, I got goosebumps just, being around there because, like I said, it was tough going to a training camp, not preparing for a championship, but really preparing for, hey, let's just, like you said, you're playing for a second contract per se, rather than winning games in survival mode. And I guess for some guys, it was like, I hope for some of them, they were trying to be in the league. It was either their last ride or it was like, hey, I hope I don't get traded or I hope I don't get cut or released. So it was definitely some tough times.
Right. Hey, Jason, as you talk about these tough times, one of the things I maintain is, culture is important. Do you feel like, some of the players you guys had come through yourself really couldn't achieve, their optimal potential because of 7 coaches, the threat of moving? Like, how do you think that impacted people's careers during that time?
Man, a lot. I mean, I go to just with the situation of, I guess maybe, for instance, Jimmer, right? He was like the Johnny Manziel of basketball per se. But like I said, high character guy, great background, great college career. And then you have Isaiah Thomas as the last pick in the draft. And the pressure that he had to be a lottery pick. But then, you see IT's maturation where you have this talented kid who's, I forget what they call the last pick in the draft.
Mr. Irrelevant? Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Irrelevant. You have that type of caliber guy. And then IT comes in there with like, hey, I'm playing with full, whatever situation. And he would come in there and just have crazy sparks. So now he's a fan favorite, and not saying Jimmer wasn't, but then it's just like, all right, he has all these expectations. Then you have the last pick in the similar positions because they couldn't really play together. And that's just one of the situations, right? Then you got the same thing with Ben McLemore, who had tons of talent out of Kansas, a lot of winning, atmospheres. But like I said, man, it's just the development. And now being around it, I was with the Warriors, after I was with the Kings and learning that thing and knowing like, hey, I remember being there when playing against Steph, Draymond, and Clay when they weren't a good team, with the Warriors and stuff. And then them still having, they get the extra piece of Bogut. You add a veteran guy in Iguodala, and now they're a championship caliber team. With those different pieces. So, like I said, there was times where I remember Oracle, no offense to the Warriors fans, there was no one at the games. And then now, you couldn't get a ticket, years later, with Mark Jackson and then obviously with Steve Kerr. So, like you said, it's very, very important. And I forgot to even say, I was there with the Maloofs. So then the Maloofs were there, and then you're changing to Vivek. So now we're changing from coaches to ownerships, and everything. It was a big thing, man. And and obviously, time heals all wounds with the situations, but then also too, man, Kings fans had to go through a lot when you have the glory days to those days, and then now the days you guys are going through now with getting DeMar and you have Sabonis and Fox and Monk. You have a great chance of doing great things this season.
Yeah, catching up with Jason Thompson. You mentioned that Isaiah Thomas is a fan favorite, And it's clear here from the way people are responding the last couple of weeks. We've had these, votes and polls, and you're a fan favorite. My wife one time, when fans got to go on the court before the game, I mean, she put her foot next to yours. She'll never forget that. You were very gracious. And I'm just wondering, a kind of a personal question, how does it feel to you personally, having gone through all that, and now all these years later, you're beloved by Sacramento fans. They have a very special place in their hearts for you. How does that feel?
It's a great feeling. I mean, I'm a young kid out of New Jersey. I'm sure maybe on draft day, not too many people would know where Rider University is. And then, I was 21 years old, and, I think at the time, they had the pep rally at Arden Mall, and then, like you said, the whole mall's going crazy and stuff like that. And then going right into the mix and going to Vegas Summer League. And then I think I hit a buzzer beater to win the first game. And I just had a chip on my shoulder, just knowing that, the mid-major guys at the time, there wasn't too many of us. I wanted to just prove my worth. And I tried to even do that in a tough situation, with coaching changes and things like that. And I would even say the story of my career has just been coaching changes, even when I went abroad as well, too.
Wow.
But like I said, you have that player coach open door policy, which maybe back in the day, it didn't really happen. So, I do think of, there's sometimes of regret of like what would happen if you did have a certain system or you were with another coach. And like I said, even with me, like, I'm having double doubles a certain night, and then now you're drafting another power forward in I'm signing my 5-year deal, and you're drafting Thomas Robinson. You know what I mean? So there's just certain things where it's like, show me your actions more than your words. So for me,
Right.
It's definitely a great, going back to Sac and showing love, because I know it was tough times, because I know how much I love to win. And you work so hard in these off seasons, and if you're not preparing for a championship, man, you don't know what your mindset is.
Right.
So I appreciate you telling me that story as well.
Hey, Jason, who were some of the guys you bonded with during your time here in Sac? Some of your closest teammates?
Well, my vet was Brad Miller. Great dude. It was one of the first guys I saw when I came to the arena.
Yeah.
I was his rook. So that's when I wasn't getting those checks yet. And I had to get the breakfast in the morning and all those type of things. Bobby Jackson was on that team too. And that's where the infamous, I might've been the first person where I got my car popcorn and it became viral. That was a viral moment that at the time sucked, but it's just something to laugh at.
And then wasn't it Dante Green, and then he did Bobby Jackson back, and it's like, you don't do that, right? And that was a big thing.
No, Dante did, and Dante, close friend, pretty much a brother. As well. And like I said, not too many people know that story, but Dante retaliated, and that was not, he tried to throw me on the bus. I was like, you my boy, but you ain't my boy today. And one dude that I give a lot of credit to with, the mindset and having you locked in was Francisco Garcia.
Yeah.
Man, just a guy that helped me out with off the court and saying, hey, man, if you want to, stick into this league, you got to be here and don't worry about all the noise and all that type of stuff. So I give Francisco a lot of credit because, he helped me out with a lot of things as well, too.
Yeah. Jason Thompson, our guest. How important was it for you to not get dunked on? I saw an interview that you did about a year ago. Is it true that you would talk to some of the guys like Blake and say, hey, we're going to compete, but let's not get carried away? You didn't want to get dunked on a highlight version, right?
Well, if anything, it was more of like you do, I would pray before, you pray and you wake up, or you pray for, when you eat your food. I just remember I would pray, obviously, to have a good game. But, when you played the Clippers in Lob City, this is the time where DeAndre Jordan was dunking on Brandon
Knight. Yeah.
Oh, man. And then Blake was dunking on Miles Golf and Kendrick Perkins. And like I said, we're talking about it. We don't even need YouTube to look at it. It's going to be in our minds, rent free. I was like, please don't let me be on one of them. Please. But like I said, we had some good battles with them as well, and got some dubs. So part of that story is definitely accurate. But I didn't talk to them like that. But like I said, those are The days where you had two big, like you had a 4-man and a 5-man, a Blake Griffin, a DeAndre Jordan, a Zach Randolph, and a Marcus Sol. So it's crazy how the game has changed since then as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, real quick, tell me about the summer of 2015. You know, you get traded to Philly, and then they swing a trade to, like, explain how that all went down. You know, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I actually would have my annual camp out in Sacramento, you know, in every summer. And then my agent had called me, and Leon Rose at the time, who's the president of the Knicks, and he goes, hey, you got traded. And, you know, like I said, this is something where, like I said, I got drafted by I grew up into a man in that city of Sacramento, to be honest, 21 and then leaving at, 27, 28. And when he was like, you won't believe the team. And then he told me Philly. And, at the time, Sac we weren't good. We had, some talent, but we weren't good. But Philly was worse at the time. And, they were in the middle of the trust the process. So I was trying to understand this. And, I'm a basketball junkie. So I'm like, all right, Joel Embiid, Okafor, Nerlens Noel. And then I think Carl Landry was in there as well, who was my teammate then too. So it wasn't making sense. So then, like I said, I was bought in, and then I knew people on the staff. And like I said, then my agent hit me up probably, I think it was a month after, and then saying you're going to the Warriors right after they won the first championship. So, the mindset had changed. And like I said, I never had been traded before. So, moving wasn't tough because even in my off seasons, I stayed in Philly as well. So, I wouldn't have had to move too much. But like I said, that was a big thing too, because another coaching situation. After they won that first championship, Steve Kerr didn't start off the season coaching. It was Luke Walton.
Right. Yeah.
And then, you have that style of play where we actually had the best start in NBA history that year. Yeah. So, I would come off the bench sometimes, then they're like, hey, we're playing here, you're starting, we would win. So it was one of them where it's like, you're winning, you're playing some minutes, this, that, and the third, which, for me, it was just good to just win as well, too. And then that's why I learned about, the winning culture, sacrificing certain things for a team. But I knew the definition of a team because I started getting closer to Steph and Clay and Draymond and, learning that I knew Mo Spates from my draft, as well. I knew Iguodala because he's, played for the Sixers as well. So, it definitely was a lot. And then, like I said, then I didn't finish the season with the Warriors, and then I went to the Raptors, and that was my first playoffs that I ever experienced. Dwayne Casey gave me a shot and put me in the starting lineup as well, too, at times. So, I'm really blessed about, that situation because, like I said, it was the first time being in a sorry to say, but in a winning culture at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Jason Thompson with us. As you said, you're an assistant now at Ryder, and having 7 coaches in 7 years was less than ideal. But I'm wondering if, in a way, if it benefited you as a coach to be exposed to so many different styles. Like I said, you would rather have one coach for a long time, but now as you're coaching, is it beneficial to have seen, some really good coaches in there too, to see how all the different styles and all the different approaches that some coaches have?
Yeah, because I know how important it is to have a great relationship with your coach. I think for me, and showing actually, like I said, I still was playing at the time. It was year 14. I had kind of pulled a muscle at the time, and I was going to the practice gym, and they were seeing how I was running the workouts and also the pickups. We're talking, like I said, organized pickup, but with these young guys these days, they just want to play and they'll get by him and dunk. And I'm just like, no, you got to talk on defense this, that, and the third. So they're like, yo, if you ever want to, come on board, the guys will love you because if we see how they gravitate to you. And like I said, for me, it's just like I just still wanted to be around the game. And I love teaching. Most of the time, especially in college, I was a leader on my team. Even in SAC, I was becoming a vet. But I was telling these young guys, hey, man, if you want to stay in the league, do this. I was telling them a lot of things, even behind the scenes, if it wasn't, out loud. So I know how important it is, one, to be in teammates and having a competitive edge as well, too, but still having a great relationship with your teammates off the court as well. And like, even if you, got into it with them on the court, it was no hard feelings off of it. And that's something I never really experienced playing wise. But what a better person to do it when I've experienced it, at the highest of levels in the NBA and in the highest of levels overseas as well, too.
Yeah. Do some of your players now ask you about Steph Curry, and how many stories do you tell from your time with the Warriors?
Yeah, for sure. They always ask me, who's the best player that you play with. And, I would say, him, and I would I always would say too, a very, very humble, superstar. And like I said, I was around him more, even in the division. We're playing him 4 times. So I remember when he was having the ankle injuries and stuff, and everyone's saying that, he won't become even close to what he's became now. So I just say that, like, even if you get knocked down a few times, you never give up. And, the work that he's put in, on and off the court, the type of role model he is as a father and a husband, and just leader of his team, speaks volumes and stuff. So like I said, I learned a lot just from being around him and even that team and my teammates. So they definitely ask about that, and like I said, I try to let them know as much as I can, just to help them out as much as I can as well.
Hey, JT, my understanding is that your least favorite city to travel to and play in was OKC, and not so much because of OKC, but a lot of factors. How big of a factor was it that you guys stayed at the haunted hotel right?
Yeah.
How big of a factor was that? Yeah.
I was going to say that helped my case when, like, Nate Robinson came out and said that the sheets, like, rose up and they the mirror, and a lot of teams didn't stay in that hotel. They would go, even if the team did, the players would pay the extra money to go and stay in a hotel next door, which is wild. So so that was, and at the time when I was in the league, KD had a restaurant, right in the middle of the city. Or whatever. So I didn't even explore. Everyone was just like, yo, we're just gonna go to KD's restaurant, and that was it. So I didn't even really have a tour. Like I said, it's not like one of them Charles Barkley's where, there's big women in San Antonio. I wasn't trying to hate. I wasn't trying to hate on OKC in their city, but, I know one thing. I know I'm not going on. If I got vacation time, I'm not going to Oklahoma City.
That ain't your first choice, right? I get it. I get it.
Stay at the scurvy.
Hey, JT, you got to be an Eagles fan, right? Growing up in the part of Jersey you grew up in. Don't tell me you're a Giants or Jets fan or anything like that, right?
Big time fly, Eagles fly, man.
Yeah, my guy. That's what I'm talking about.
We got a big game tomorrow, man. Big one.
I'm with you. I grew up. I'm from Philly. I grew up in Philly, man, and so I'm like, oh, he went to Ryder. Was born in, I think it was Mount Laurel.
Yeah.
You were born in, which is a stone's throw from Philly. And so, how are our Eagles looking this year, man? What do you think?
I think we're going to be all right. I mean, I know that we had that collapse second half of the season, man. And you know what's crazy? It's like I've been a diehard even during the Ray Rose and Rich Kotite.
Ooh,
that's what I'm saying. Like all them days where it was the non-glory days, and then now, so there's no bandwagon. But yeah, man, I just think that one thing I knew, I was like, being in locker rooms, I'm like, I know there's something that has to be going on in the locker room, right? During that time. So it's like, dang, like, I wish I could know more information.
Right.
And stuff. But like I said, man, on paper, man, we should be really good. I'm not really worried about the Cowboys. I ain't worried about the Giants or the Commanders. But like I said, it's one of them one game at a time mentality.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I think we became, they always talk about the Cowboys as America's team. I think when, obviously the Chiefs, rightfully so, but if it's not after the Chiefs, it's us who everyone wants to talk about.
You hear that? You hear that, boys?
You just said the Eagles are America's team?
Hold on.
What?
see,
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah,
I ain't
yeah.
saying magazine, but I also to say I forgot what area I'm talking to right now.
No, bro. Hey, you know how we are though. Us Eagle fans, we don't duck the smoke. JT, you know that we ain't ducking no smoke.
I see the logo in the background as well. So small Eagles story. So when I still was with the Kings, we going and the Eagles played the Raiders when they still were in Oakland. And I'm just thinking, I'm such a diehard, but I know how crazy the Raiders fans are. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna wear too much Eagle stuff, but I'm gonna wear a hat. So long story short, we're going. This is actually the time when Nick Foles was the quarterback, and he could have got the touchdown record, and we were up by so much. I think what's his name? The coach, Doug Peterson, took him out. They were booing him. But then it was like when I got into the arena, everyone's like, "Yo, JT, it's all love, man. We follow you, man. So we're not gonna come at you for wearing Eagle stuff, but it's all love. It's all love, man. It's all love." So it was it's a lot of love in that Northern California area for sure.
Yeah. It's really a pleasure catching up with you. We appreciate it. We know you're busy. We'd love to have you on anytime. You got something you need to share, or we just want to come on anytime. Thank you, Jason. Congratulations on being named by our esteemed panel one of the top 40 Sacramento Kings of all time.
Appreciate you guys for having me. Hey, anytime you guys want to, talk, I'm for it. So we'd love to talk again, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
We'll talk maybe when the 49ers beat the Eagles in the
NFC
playoffs.
Championship game. Let's go. We're going to have you on before that.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right,
Thank you, JT.
All
right, man.
All right, talk to you guys later.
Yeah, we appreciate it. How about that? 7 years, 7 coaches.
That's unbelievable.
It almost is.
The instability. And it's affected players' careers, Whitey. Impacted their careers.
We've got another Kings legend coming up, Lionel Simmons.
I'm excited
he is
about
an Eagles
this.
fan. You know Lionel Simmons got to be an Eagles fan,
Got to
right?
be an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
L-Train.
L-Train rolls into Sactown Sports next on Sactown Sports.
Hey,